Welcome to this week's episode of the Skilled Trade Rescue Podcast. My name is Martin King, always your dedicated host. This week we have Jay Spencer on the show, and he is a tile guy. Jay knows everything about tile, and like many of you out there, he picked it up through exposure in skilled trades. So he didn't start out originally in tile, which he'll tell you all about, but he did gravitate towards it because he found it interesting. And like many skilled trade people do, they decide to start their own business, and that's exactly what Jay did. Now, Jay has been very successful at it, and I think there's some great takeaways in this long-form interview that I have with him about the secrets to becoming successful at your trade. And that's what this podcast is all about, is trying to share insights into how to take your career to the next level. And I hope we got this done in this episode. As always, if you see this episode on YouTube, please make sure you like and comment. I know you've heard that a million times, but it's very helpful to get our word out there to more people. Well, without further ado, please welcome Jay Spencer, and I hope you really enjoy this week's episode of the Skilled Trade Rescue Podcast. So, hey, Jay, thanks for spending a little time with me on a Saturday.
My pleasure. Good morning.
Yeah. So I want to just talk to you about your skilled trade journey. Let's tell the audience a little bit about yourself, what you do, and what's your, how did you get into what you're doing? What's the backstory on your business?
Yeah. I specialize in tile. I do a lot of finished carpentry as well. And it was kind of born from building homes from the ground up. When I first started this back in 1990, I started this journey just as an employee to a contractor building homes, big custom homes. And we were a small crew, so we saw every phase of home building. And we spent months on a single home, because we did almost every aspect of the work. And so I was kind of able to pinpoint what I really wanted to do, because I got my hands on all of it. And it really has, kind of landed on tile finish work, kind of an artist's type of the work, because I am an artist and I enjoy stuff like that, where I can create and be creative with what I do. And this happened back in 1990. I was living in Bend, Oregon, and I was working at Mount Bachelor, just skiing and being young and, having a blast. And then summer hit, and it's like, man, I need to make some money here. And I met a guy up skiing that was a general contractor, and he said, why don't you come to work for me for the summers? And so that's what I did, and fell in love with it. And it wasn't, I don't think 2 years into that I dropped the skiing job and went building full time.
So you were doing carpentry. You were working for a general contractor, which could be just about anything, right?
We were doing everything, literally, and most of our homes we were building in Sun River in Central Oregon. And we would do everything from clear the trees off the lot with chainsaws to forming up the foundation stem wall of the house, pouring that, doing all the framing. Literally, the only things we subbed out were mechanical, plumbing, heating, electrical, and drywall and roofing. That was really all we subbed out. We did everything else: carpentry, tile, hardwood floors, painting inside and out. And we were there the whole time. So even the work the subs were doing, I was exposed to. So I really got to experience it all. And that job was, I believe, about 9 years long. And then I moved to Medford and got started doing the same thing, this time for a developer who I was a foreman for. And we would build smaller homes to the tune of 2 to 3 homes per month. Just cranking them out. Big crews, lots of work, lots of homes. And again, I got to see it all. And it was at that point in 2000 that I got my license. Decided
as a GC?
Yes, general contractor's license. Yep. And I decided to stay as an employee for this developer kind of until I got my sales up. I should say not my sales, but my SAILS sales. And caught some wind and started moving with my own business. And so that happened probably around 2003, where I just kind of spread my wings and took the leap.
And now, how did you sort of transition over to tile work, Jay?
I was doing this particular developer in Medford did lots and lots of tile. Big tile floors, lots of hardwood floors. And that was the thing that I really started to excel at, was the tile. I could just feel that this was where my skill was really flowing. I could get it done quickly. I could get it done efficiently. I started looking at the market and seeing that tile installers were making higher wages than some of the other specialists. And that's what drove me in that direction.
Mm-hmm. Outstanding. So you started as a GC, and then you started moving over into the tile work. So what's the condition of the market right now for tile folks? Like, if you were faced with a big job right now and you needed more hands to do the work, if you wanted to do that, I think you're primarily working by yourself now, or do you have employees, or what's your situation?
I am now a sole proprietor. I work alone, and I'm legally bound to only work alone.
Right. Okay. So let's just say you did have a big opportunity come your way. What's the landscape like about finding people that could do tile work?
I think it is location dependent. And the location we're in here in the Portland area, there actually are a lot of skilled laborers in this area, or people who want to do that. A lot of them are in the Hispanic community, but that's kind of a good thing because they want to do this kind of work. They work hard and they are available to work. And I think due to that, you would probably not have much trouble finding somebody. It would probably be a trainee. I think your best chances would be that, rather than finding a highly skilled journeyman to come work for you. But those can come along. I personally think the market is very good right here, right now.
Mm-hmm. Good as in work, or good as in the labor pool, or both?
Both. I think it's both. And part of it is because of the demographic of our area, this western Portland area, Hillsborough area where we are. There are a lot of skilled laborers out here. There's a lot of people willing to work physically. And as you get closer toward the cities, you tend to find people who are more prone to want to be in an office. That's been my experience.
Yeah, right. So what are some of the success stories that really keep you engaged in doing what you're doing? You obviously love what you're doing. What are some of the perks of being in the tile business? And then maybe switch over and say, what are some of the perks about being in the tile business as a business owner nowadays?
Yeah. I would say probably the biggest perk of being a tile installer is the ability to step back and see what you've done at the end of it. It's different than almost any other. I mean, you can build homes, you can paint a wall, you can lay a vinyl floor, you can lay carpet, but none of it is quite like the mosaic that appears from installing tile. And for me, who has kind of the soul of an artist, I thrive on that. And I thrive at the process of getting there. The challenges of, literally making a puzzle and then assembling the puzzle, and the problem solving throughout that phase. So definitely a perk of being a tile installer is the reward of visually seeing what you've done. As well as, if you're good at it and you're a good communicator and you have a good relationship with your customers, it's even better to see their response and their willingness to, write you the check with a smile.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, a lot of geometry in tile, right? You know,
Yeah.
you got to really understand angles and you're right. It's like a building block, right?
And the one of the things that requires patience, and it's a funny thing about my personality, I'm not a patient person at all, but there are some in my life that absolutely require it, and due to that, I'm extremely patient in those areas. One of them is if you want a successful tile job, no matter how simple or complex it is, you need to spend the time in the prep. You need to figure out everything. You want to know everything that's going to happen with your layout before you even mix mud and start gluing anything down. I mean, there are some areas. This last job I just finished was a bathroom with a herringbone pattern floor. And with this design, it's a very time-consuming design delay, is the herringbone. And I am literally cutting and dry fitting almost the whole room before I even start mixing mud and sticking it to the floor, just because I want to know if I need to make a change. Because once you start and you start gluing it down, you're just going, and you got to deal with whatever happens. Mm-hmm. And if you plan and you have foresight and you see what's going to happen at the end, that's what separates, the best from just the good.
Now, how about being a business owner, Jay? So, I'm hearing you that your artistic ability, the intricacies of doing the physical work is a draw for you. How about being a business owner in the tile business? What are some of the perks and some of the upsides and downsides, if you will, of that type of relationship with work?
Yeah, it's a good question. A perk of being a business owner in tile. My first impulse to answer you is more a perk of being a business owner in general. And maybe it's specific. I don't think it's specific to tile, but I think it also has to do with the way I have set up my business, being alone in this, where I don't have employees, to where my schedule is 100% mine. I can do the things that I want to do when I want to do them. A lot of times I don't even know what the day of the week is. Mm-hmm. I don't even know it's Sunday because I'm working, or I don't even know it's Wednesday because I'm fishing, something like that. But I can plan that on my calendar, and it's an extremely freeing way to live. And I finally learned to actually make a calendar for myself that outlines my days off, that outlines when I want to go fishing, when I want to take, a few days to go do something. Because if you don't do that, you never will.
Right.
And that's something that was important to me when I started this. I thought, I want to set my own hours because I'm an outdoorsman. I want to enjoy life while I'm young and healthy and have the time to do that, and the money and the freedom. And for the first 12 to 15 years in this business of being a business owner, I didn't do it. I just worked and I worked. And then I just kind of woke up one day and I said, man, my body's starting to hurt. I got to start enjoying life. And right. So I found a way to schedule my calendar to really be doing that now.
Mm-hmm. Time management, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has to be intentional. It has to be intentional, or one day you'll wake up and say, man, a lot of time got by and I haven't done anything.
Right. Right. Well, one thing about your business, I was thinking about, you're essentially in the service business. You're servicing your customers, and you're going into their homes or businesses, and you're intaking what their dreams are as far as what this backsplash is going to look like, or what the shower is going to look like, and all that stuff. The nice thing about the type of thing you do, and I'm thinking maybe like roofers too, home constructions, that's a bigger scope, of course, but your projects have a beginning and an end to them, right?
Right.
It's not like, being in in my business, the HVAC service business, where you're dealing with mechanical machines that run, and they require a lot of maintenance, and they require a lot of care to keep the things, running. Cars are another example of it.
Yeah.
It seems like your business is kind of interesting because, once you finish your tile job, customer's happy, they write your check, and you're on your way. I mean, you don't have a lot of, maintenance, if you will, on a piece of tile. I mean, yes, you got to clean it, you got to do certain things to it, but it seems that, if you schedule a job that's going to take you 3 days, you go in there, even if it takes you 4 days, once you're done with it, right?
Right. Yeah. And that has its pros and cons, obviously, because what you're talking about is a machine that requires maintenance. That is a career of longevity where you just kind of ride it as it goes. I have to find work. I have to, my jobs do end, and I do need another job, and as the jobs come in and I pack my schedule, like, I work alone. I never work 2 jobs at once, ever. I tried that in the beginning and I didn't like it. And because I want to give every customer my undivided attention. So I never, ever have 2 jobs at once. So that's how my calendar goes. It's like,
right,
this week is for the Kings. This week is for the Johnsons. This week is for the Smiths. And I know how long each job is going to take me. So, and I give myself a cushion between jobs just in case something goes a little longer. And, so I have a little bit of time in between each job. But there is an end to that. So I have these booked, committed jobs that are going out 6 weeks. And each job starts and each job finishes. And then I go to the next one and the same thing happens. And pretty soon I'm 2 weeks away from having no work.
Right.
And miraculously the phone rings and it just seems to happen. And I think the thing that I would want to drill into anybody who wants to get into this business or even is in this business and wants to be more successful, my number one advice to you is answer your phone. Just answer your phone. A lot of these customers are sitting there with a list of 4 contractors they're going to call, and they want to talk to somebody. And when you answer your phone and you give them the time and respect and attention that they want, they're not going to call those other contractors.
Right.
And so that there is nothing in my mind that's more important than, you could break it down to just say communicate. You just communicate.
Would you say, Jay, that there's enough work out there? Like, if you had a son or daughter that was going off to college or something like that, and you need to make some extra money in your skilled trade, would you say there's enough work out there, to keep you busy year round?
Yes.
Okay. That's good.
And again, I think it is regionally relevant.
Right.
Where we are now, for me, from what I can see and from the people I'm in touch with, yes, it's very good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I when you were talking about the work and slow times and things like that, and being a one-man band, if you will, I remember those times when I started in HVAC. I had one truck. It was just me, baby, right?
Yeah.
and I really connect with the challenges of having multiple customers that you're trying to service at the same time. My business is a little bit different because we were working with mechanical equipment, and I remember those days where you're working, and while you're working, you're not bidding on anything, right? Because you're busy.
Right.
So you burn through all that work, and you're like, oh man, I don't have anything to do. So then you go sell, and then bam, you get all this work in. So your life is this constant seesaw, right?
It really is. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting feeling of kind of security as well as overwhelming when you see you're booked 6 months out in this. I know bigger contractors who are building homes. I'll say, hey, I'm booked all the way through August. and these bigger contractors will say, "Oh yeah, what year?" But
Yeah.
for me, I mean, as far as me doing one small job at a time, I would say my jobs probably average 4 to 6 days each. That's
Okay.
the size of my jobs.
Yeah.
Some of them can be, I'm about to start a job that's going to be 5 weeks. I've had jobs that have been 12 weeks, but in general, they're just a few days. And
Right.
so you need to line up a lot of work to have that security of income. And there's times, in fact, even recently, I just kind of had a sense that I better take every job because I don't know when the phone's going to ring again. You know, I think America is in a place right now where it feels like it could slow down.
If you're a skilled trade pro or a business owner that employs skilled trades people, you may want to check out the BEST Skilled Trade Career Development Process. I know that's a mouthful, but what we cover in this process is the 4 key elements that can help transform an okay or even a good career into something amazing. We cover technical excellence, work ethic, how to build generational wealth, and most importantly, how to maintain work-life balance, which is exceptionally challenging these days. We're having a free workshop on BEST coming soon. We're currently doing pre-registry on it. Now, one of the things about this workshop, since it is free, we're limiting the size because this is an interactive workshop. We're going to try and learn as much as help others in the skilled trades. So go to skilledtraderescue.com, go to the top, any one of the menu bars, look for BEST to read up on what's going on with this process and pre-register for this workshop that'll be coming your way soon. All right, well, without further ado, let's jump right back into this episode of the skilledtraderescue.com podcast. Right.
And so because of that, I'm not cherry picking like I kind of like to, you know, just taking the jobs I want. I've kind of been taking everything. And all of a sudden you look at your calendar and you have this immense feeling of security because you see income coming in for the next 5 months. But at the same time, it's very overwhelming because that means 15 to 20 different jobs on the books.
Yeah. And then you have, boy, yeah, I remember those days. I mean, in your business too, gosh, you know, you have a very specific color palette, let's just say, right? So let's say, you know, you book a job 5 months out and the husband and wife are super excited. We got Jay. And we didn't think we were going to get him, but we got him to do this job for us. And then the manufacturer of the tile decides, you know, we're just going to discontinue that tile. Right? Especially nowadays with the supply chain issues. I'm sure that's a little bit of a challenge for you, huh?
Absolutely. And in fact, that's a great point. I tell my customers, and this also kind of validates their commitment to the job. I tell them to buy their materials. Typically, the way I work my business is my customers buy the materials. I'll guide them where to buy them, and I'll send them to the place that works with me, and they will work with my customers on design and showing them all the tile options they have. So my customers can basically choose anything they want in their price range, in their color scheme and all that. And I will tell them to do that soon, even if they're booked for August. We're talking right now. And I would say, go buy it now. Make sure it's available now. Make sure you get the right now price, because all of that can change.
Yeah.
And one thing that can change for me also that I have to keep in flux on my bids is my building materials fluctuate in price. So I can give somebody an estimate for a job in August right now, and I will give them a price, an estimate for the whole job based on my labor, which I know how much I want to make, and based on how much I'm going to spend on materials. And the one thing that has a major variable is inflation on those materials and or availability, especially these last couple years. A lot of us tile guys have been forced to change products that we like to use because our favorite products are unavailable, and they can create more labor to install because they're just a different product. They can be more expensive, but our hands can get tied on the materials that we buy and provide to build the project outside from tile and grout.
So let's go up bird's eye level. So I want to talk about a couple of things about being a business owner. You have such a big you've been doing this a long time, and you've done a lot of different things. One of the things that I've been exploring quite a bit of is work-life balance, and you touched on an important point of that is to being able to do some time management, booking your time off, setting boundaries, that kind of stuff. What do you do? What have you done to maintain your relationship with your loved ones while everybody who knows you knows that you're a self-employed person? And what are some of the tricks that you've done besides time management that have helped you maintain your work-life balance? Because that's like the number one thing I hear from talking to everybody across the skilled trades. Everybody's shorthanded a lot. Well, not everybody, but a lot of trades are shorthanded like crazy. So if they have a Jay, a superstar who's knows how to do tile, they set him out on a job and they go get them, and they don't have to worry about it. But if you're shorthanded, guys like Jay are going to get overworked and burn out, and eventually jump out of the trades because they're burnt out. So what are some of the tricks that you can think of that will, besides time management, which I think is super important, that will help a technician, a tile layer, or business owner not run into those work-life balance issues?
Yeah. Boy, it's really hard for me to go away from time management, and because that's really what it's all about. And I guess another very important aspect to it all is communication. Communicating with your customers, communicating with your colleagues, communicating with your retailers keeps things known. It eliminates so many unknowns. And I am a chronic communicator. If I'm driving to a job and I hit traffic, I text my customer. If I'm going to show up late, I want them to know. I'm not the contractor that rolls in 30 minutes late without my customer knowing why. It's just I'm a communicator. And that goes all the way across the board. If you've got subs coming in, so you've got a plumber. I've got plumbers around all the time because I build a lot of showers. And if you are not on the ball with these different people to keep all the parts of the puzzle together, you could lose control of your time and your days, and you can start being there till 9 p.m. or being there 7 days a week if you really let that go. And so communicating and just not overbooking yourself. The last thing I want to do is tell somebody this job is going to take me 3 days when I know at the ripe age of 54, it's probably going to take me more. Right. And what I end up doing is killing myself for that, and then not having any time off for my family or for myself before the next job bumps in.
How do you smooth over your just conflicts that come up with loved ones? Like you're on the ball with your time management, and your loved ones are seeing that Jay's super busy all the time. How do you manage that when you start getting the hints and the subtle communications from your loved ones that you're working too much, Jay?
Yeah. You're not going to like the answer to this because that doesn't me.
Okay.
And here's why. My wife is the one that does that.
Right.
So I'm an empty nester. My son is almost 30. He's been out of the house forever. It's just been my wife and I. And she has a 9-to-5 job, and she is a Zumba instructor in her spare time. So she's the one who comes home to a cold dinner.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, for me, I tell everybody I'm a recovering workaholic. I just am. And my ambitions of being, a business owner ended my butt in counseling more than once. And for me, it was, I was great at communicating with my customers, like you were talking about. And but there's a lot of moving parts. And even as the business grew and I was able to outsource that stuff or delegate that stuff to other people, where I was really falling down is making sure that my time management wizardry included making sure that there was downtime to spend with my kids and my wife. And it's really, for me, I don't know if this has ever happened with you, but my business actually sort of took on the persona with my wife as the other woman. Right? I was spending so much time with the other woman, right, that she was just, it was a real problem. And so that was one of the things I learned the hard way. But, 36 years, we've been married now, but it was, fortunately, I married up. Quick announcement about a new ebook that we have out called Technical Excellence. This is the foundation of the BEST skilled trade career development process. Some of the things that we'll be covering in this book include the power of mentors and how to find the right ones that will help you consistently move your skilled trade career forward. Creating your vision. What do you want to get accomplished over the next 3 to 5 years in your skilled trade journey? Success strategies. So once you've developed your vision, you need strategies that will help you execute that process to get things going and keep them going. Success habits. Everybody has good habits and bad habits. Within the book, we help identify what habits are hurting your career, and we try to replace those bad habits with ones that support your career. Taking in feedback. This is a learned skill that is very, very critical. When you have a challenge, you're getting your mentors involved. You measure those challenges against your vision, your strategies. You need to get advice. And learning how to take that advice, apply that advice to the challenges before you is definitely an important skill that will serve you very well over your skilled trade career. For more information on the Technical Excellence ebook, as well as other ebooks that we have coming up, go to skilledtraderescue.com, go to the top of any one of the pages and click on the Learn ebook link, and that'll take you to our ebook page. You can read up on what's going on. There's some discounts if you get a chance to watch the video on the page, and I hope you enjoy this book and you get a lot of value out of it. I want to talk about money management now. So you're making good money. Well, first of all, let me ask you this. In the tile business, can you generate as an installer, somebody working for another company, which you've done, and a business owner, can you make, what kind of a living can you make doing that type of work? Is it lower middle class, upper middle class? I mean, what kind of a living how are you living, Jay, without giving away too many confidential data points?
Yeah. I would say we're living middle class, and obviously, I'm married to a successful woman who, makes money too. So, between the two of us, we do pretty well, and I would put us in middle class. I would say if I was talking my income alone, I would probably be very satisfied with my current income. I am not a chaser of the almighty dollar. I don't need to be, living under a pile of money. It doesn't feel good to me. I obviously want to have a nest egg, and I work on that a little bit to a degree. I think, like everybody, I could do more to, pad my future. But again, my wife has a a pension build up after being in the job she's had all her life, and 401ks, and I've got a mutual fund. So there are things for our future as we get there.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that's the answer to where I'm at. For somebody who wants to be a tile installer, yeah, there's definitely a good living there. I mean, in the economy we're in right now, I would think a tile installer with good incentive and fair skills could probably start in the $20 to $28 an hour range, and probably go well up from there if they become a journeyman, maybe get their license and stay in it. Maybe they want to go commercial, but obviously it's back to time management. You make as much as you put in, and the more you work, the more you make.
Right. Yeah.
And
is it possible, Jay, you think in 2023 you get somebody who's, right out of high school, or maybe a few years out of high school, and they've decided to go into being a tile installer or tile installer business like yours? Is it possible to be a millionaire, you think?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
You want to be a business owner, and you want to grow, and you have that ambition, and you want to go corporate and make a big, a multi-employee commercial type job. I think you could be a multi-millionaire.
Right.
It's dependent on how motivated you are and how well you manage business.
Right. Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah. What are some of the work ethic type things, like what makes going outside the tile business, just being in the contracting world and skilled trade world for a long time? What are some of the work ethic things that are key, gotta haves if you're going to excel in your skilled trade? Like what are some of the work ethic mindsets that you think are just critical? You got to have it, or you're going to have a mediocre career if you don't.
Yeah, this is probably my favorite subject because I talk a lot with people. Your ethics and your behavior around your customers and around your colleagues is everything. If people want to be around you, they're going to want to be around you, and that is what you need to succeed. And when you are making a relationship with a customer, something that I am just adamant about is when I get a call from a customer I've never met and I'm going over to look at their project, I'm coaching myself on the way there to be on my best behavior is kind of a weird thing to say as an adult, but you know what I mean. I want to go in there and I want to, first of all, they've already heard of me somehow. They've maybe seen my work. I have some sort of reputation that's gotten them to call me. It's very rare they're just calling me as some random tile installer. So usually I've already got that behind me for them to call me in the first place. So when I get there, my number one priority is to put them at ease, make sure that they can trust me. And that is everything. That is what makes them put away all of their other contractors' phone numbers, and it's what makes their checkbook come out, and it's what makes them hand me their key to their home, because I'm going to be in there while they're gone usually. And it is absolutely imperative that my customer trusts me when I go to look at their job. That is my very first goal. Mm-hmm. Before we even step into the room where we're going to be doing the work, I break the ice by building a relationship with this person, just so it becomes a relationship, almost a friendship, if you will, rather than just a business model. Because you're in these people's homes. They have all of their, personal belongings in there. They have children. They need to trust you. Mm-hmm. And to me, that is the number one work ethic that's going to make you succeed in this job. Because what's going to happen is that person's going to say, I had Jay build this bathroom. You've got to hire Jay because look at the job he did. And man, there was no problems at all with him. He's a good guy. I'm not trying to toot my own horn that way, but I would love to coach people to say that is a huge priority. it's as big as the quality of your work.
Mm-hmm. Good. Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Yeah, and when you're doing residential work, that's a huge thing, because people, there was a huge difference between how people related with company money versus personal money.
Yeah.
When you were bidding on a job for a commercial building, yes, they expect you to show up on time. Yes, they expect a value added price, not necessarily the cheapest price. And they want you to show up and get the job done. Check. All those boxes are checked. But when you're in the residential realm, it's a bit different, because yes, you have to check all those boxes, showing up on time and all that, but they have to feel comfortable with you, because you're in their home, you're in their castle doing what you do.
Yeah.
And it makes a big difference. Yeah, for sure.
Well, and another kind of work ethic thing that's important to talk about too for me is the fact that I work alone, and it can be lonely. There's no doubt about it. It's fun when somebody shows up and I get to talk to somebody. However, working alone keeps me working. I can't tell you how much I enjoy talking to a plumber when he shows up, or an electrician or somebody, and then I look at my watch and I'm like, I haven't done anything for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And that's not a good feeling for me. And it's amazing how my momentum can get interrupted even after I go back to work from something like that. And same exact thing for me. I never leave a job for lunch. I pack a lunch, I take it to work, I eat it there, because I hate to lose my momentum.
Yeah.
I have a goal every single day. When I show up at work, I know what I want to have done by the end of the day. It may happen at 3, it may happen at 6, but I want to accomplish that goal by the end of the day. And I can do that if I can predict the fact that there's going to be nobody there to chat with. I'm not going out to lunch to, hometown buffet and sitting there for 2 hours and getting full and tired. So that's a big work ethic thing for me. Stay on the job. Don't be chatty. Just do your job.
Right. So as a business owner, Jay, like, what are some of the successes that you've experienced, and some of the things as a business owner that you would have done differently, talking to your younger self? What are some of the things that you would have done differently if you could, about owning a business, not necessarily a tile business, but owning a business? Like, what words of wisdom could you share with the younger Jay?
Well, that's a good question. I think you and I talked a little bit about me overworking myself in the early days and not being able to enjoy life. I think that if I would have kind of managed my time better when I was younger, I don't know if that would be better for me now, or if I'd go back and do that differently. I think the experiences we give ourselves are important to look back on. I don't want to say it was a mistake that I worked that hard and that many hours. But it is nice to be at a point where I am now and look back and say, that's how I used to do it, so this is how I do it now. I learned from it.
So back to time management again, I guess. That's like one of the,
And I think important. I think that was an important learning period in my business, that I did that so that I can see it now.
Right.
And I mean, I don't care who you are. It's important to know when you're in this business and you get to be my age, it hurts. I mean, it physically does hurt, and you need to be prepared for that. And I want to make this career sound as attractive as I possibly can, but I'm going to tell you, Advil is your friend at this age.
Vitamin A.
Yeah.
Did you have any mentors through your career? like that made huge differences in, how you ended up to, what you're doing now or your level of success? Was there any particular individuals that helped you do that?
I would say yes. I mean, they're not an outstanding mentor that I am still in touch with, that I think about a lot. But as you ask that question, I think of a couple people back in the early days that made me want to move from being an employee to working for myself. And I will never forget this one friend of mine. His name was Mitch Smith down in Medford. And he was a flooring contractor, and he did all kinds of flooring, vinyl, carpet, laminate, stuff like that. And I envied him just because he was just a happy guy, and he was always at these jobs I was at, and we would talk about owning your own business. And he kind of talked me through it and got me excited about it. And I remember some days I would see him and he would say, "Jay, I'm going to tell you right now, I wish I was in your shoes." And I'll never forget that. This guy's a successful business owner. He's basically like I am now. He was a sole proprietor. He did all his own work. He set his own schedule. Yet from time to time, me as an employee of somebody else, he would say to me, "I wish we could trade places." Because it does wear on you. This business is, even though you have your time management set, there is something about it always being upon you. You can't leave it behind like you can leave a desk job behind when you go home.
Right. Yeah. One of the things I've been talking about a lot lately is skilled trades. You, for the most part, across the whole spectrum of all the skilled trade jobs out there, there's no lack of work. There's people, if you want to get scrappy and you want to do your trade, whatever it is, there's opportunities out there, and there's more and more opportunities showing up all the time because older guys like us are, we're retiring. We're like, that box of tile is getting kind of heavy. In my case, man, those compressors are pretty heavy. So, so you just, you get out of it. You retire, you do other things. Unfortunately, some of us die off, whatever. Yeah. But so there's no lack of opportunity. And the other thing that I'm hearing a lot about these days recently is artificial intelligence. Yeah. And in the past, America has outsourced other jobs, desk jobs that require 4-year college degrees off to other countries. And the skilled trades, when you're working with physical stuff, like, for example, Mr. and Mrs. Smith need a new shower, well, that's not getting outsourced.
That's right.
It's just not. And I don't see any time soon that there's going to be a robot that's going to come into the home and install a tile shower. I don't see that happening through, artificial intelligence or robotics or anything like that. So one of the things I talk about is if you have a high-tech job that especially has to do with virtual reality, you're communicating via email or you're doing computer-aided design or whatever, something on a computer, that can be eventually replaced by AI and robotics or outsourced to other countries, some of which don't like us very much. Yeah. And so I see that skilled trades isn't going anywhere. I mean, what do you think about that? Have you given that any thought in your time alone laying tile?
Yeah. It is an interesting dynamic that we're seeing as technology spirals so fast forward. And you're right, AI is a very interesting possibility for people. I mean, you see stuff as simple as self-checkout at stores, stuff like that. And it's a simple solution for AI to replace people. And like you said, there is no simple solution for AI replacing what we do. Right. I mean, obviously, probably 20 years ago, nobody saw the the possibility of what's happening now, just like I don't see it being possible that a robot can lay tile. Who knows? Maybe it can happen. It doesn't seem like it. I will say this. When COVID happened, and I watched this world go quiet, and everybody was staying home, people were laid off, people were losing their jobs, businesses were shutting down. I had every job I wanted. I was cherry picking jobs. It never stopped. It never even slowed down. If anything, it picked up. And I think part of that is the type of work I do. The fact that I'm residential, I do small remodels, and people were home. It was time to, they were home and they were getting, these checks from the government, and they still had money and they were spending it. And I was busy. And not only me, but every contractor I spoke to was in the same boat. So while everyone else was stressing about whether they still had a job, aside from the COVID scare itself, I was cruising right along, going to work with no traffic in the morning.
I heard that a lot. A lot of my buddies in HVAC were just buried, and which was really crazy to me. Even the commercial guys were busy doing stuff. Yeah, and nobody was in the buildings, which was really weird.
Well, it's kind of funny because for me it was the opposite. I was always used to it being in people's homes while they were out at work, but during COVID, I was working in their homes while they were home because they were home. So that was an interesting period. And as we've gotten into an era where people have still learned to work from home, I do deal more and more with people that are still at home. And that brings some interesting factors too. You have to be, it comes back to work ethic. When you're literally working around a customer and he sees you or she sees you going in and out of her door 45 times a day to do your thing, there's a certain behavior you have to be under. Don't leave the door open and let the cold air in. Just little things like that. There's a lot to it when the customer is there watching you.
Right. Yeah, I could just see. I think people were at home, stuck in their house, and I could just hear those husband-wife conversations. They're saying, "Hey." The wife's saying, "When are we going to get this shower fixed?"
Yeah.
Right? And then boom, the next thing you know, you got a big tile job, and yeah, it was a crazy time. Yeah. Really? Well, we're going to wrap things up. Jay, what's the name of your outfit, and what's a good email for you in case anybody has any tile questions? Maybe we'll have a tile layer out there that's thinking about starting their own business, and maybe they'll shoot you an email. And guys, by the way, if you blow up Jay's inbox, he's going to let me know. So keep the questions short and professional because he's a busy guy. But what's a good email for you, Jay? What's the name of your company?
Company is Integrity Tile and Carpentry. And my email is tilewithintegrity@gmail.com.
There you go. tilewithintegrity@gmail.com. Perfect. All right. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the recording here, Jay.
Okay.
There you go.
This conference will now be recorded.
There you go.
So I started this business carrying a general contractor's license, even though I wanted to go into tile specifically. I wanted to be a specialty contractor. And the reason I took a general license was you never know if tile is going to be always available. You want to be able to build a deck. You want to be able to, build a covered porch or do some framing or something. So to me, it was important. And I had all those skills because I started this business, or I started my career with a builder, and I built every aspect of home. So the thing that I would love for people to try to do is expose yourself to the building industry. Even if you start as like you want to be just a tile installer, pay attention to what's around you, especially if you're in new construction, and study. Know what it takes to do different aspects of building. And here's why. I will go into a bathroom remodel, for instance. It's an old home in Portland. They've got vinyl floors. They want to rip it all out and do all tile. I rip it all out, and I discover the floor is rotten all the way through the structure.
Mm-hmm.
And the drywall is rotten up the walls. And now all of a sudden my customer needs a contractor to repair their floor, their structure. They need new studs in the walls. They need drywall hung. They need drywall taped and textured. They need the doors trimmed out. They need the doors possibly replaced. Things can come up like this from, exploring demo and seeing things you didn't expect. So now your customer has to start shopping for and bringing in other contractors to fix these things. And it can draw out this process to an eternity to do a small bathroom. I have a general license so that I can do all these things. And I take my skill from my past of building homes where my customer does not have to hire anybody else. I do it all. And the nice thing about it is you can set your price. I'm not cheap to fix those things. I'm expensive to fix those things, but I'm worth it because I'm there. It doesn't slow the job down, and it gets done without bringing other strangers into the home. And my customer...
Yeah, right. They don't have to track down 4 different contractors, right?
Right. And so to a degree, the project still stays on schedule. I mean, it gets pushed behind because there's more work, but we're not waiting for another contractor to be found and come in and scheduled. So everything stays very smooth. So I guess my advice is, if you become a specialty contractor like I am, it's very good to also study some of the other things you may encounter and carry a general license so that you can do them legally.
That's a good point. That's really good, because people inherently, don't want to do business, especially business in their own home, with multiple contractors. Well, as you know, by the way, full disclosure, Jay did a couple of shower jobs for us, and did a great job. So him and I have had a few conversations about this, but recently, well, actually a couple of years ago now, we did a major remodel in our house, and 90% of the vendors we had in here were good, but we had that 10% that wasn't so good. And so if you got one person that you like that does multiple things, that's a win, I think.
It really is, and to a certain degree, it's bread and butter for me. These things they occur, they come up, they're extra costs that drive up the price for me so that I make more money on it, and I have the skill to do it, and my customer is elated to write that check at the end of the job, to just me, almost no matter what the price is. I'm a very fair person when it comes to that. However, I do understand that I am able to save them a lot of time and heartache and headache and just frustration by doing it all myself. It literally just happened at my last job, where I tore out the floor, and it was post and beam construction under the floor, and literally the beam was rotten halfway through. And so we had to do major repairs, and it was no problem. And it's just a matter of having that skill, having some confidence. And I would say one more thing that is just really important that I've always done is, if you don't think you can handle something, don't do it. Don't tell somebody that you can take on this job and then go in there and fumble through it. And I mean, that's going to be a sore spot on your resume.
Yeah. Well, one thing too, I want to add to that about, having one person or one company that's multifaceted do the work. One of the problems that you run into, and again, I had this happen on this remodel, is if you have 5 contractors in here and they all have different specialties, sheetrock, paint, flooring, whatever. If there's a problem, because hey, no matter how good you are, you're going to have, warranty stuff come up. You just are.
Right.
And the other thing is, even if Jay charges extra money to replace a beam or whatever, if there's a problem, the homeowner has to make one phone call to get it fixed, right?
Right.
Because nobody's perfect. So that's money well spent, because what I ran into is situations on the remodel is, you got 5 different contractors and everybody stands in a circle and points to the left. It's not you got to call. That wasn't in our scope. You need to talk to the electrician, or you need to talk to the plumber or whatever. And then you're having to go through a lot of frustration chasing everybody down.
Yeah.
So I see a lot of benefit of paying, even if you have to pay a little extra, having one guy do it all.
Yeah.
If he's qualified to do it, right?
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
And that's that's another point that I think we can circle back on is try to study and pay attention and learn some of these other things, but know your limits. If you are somebody who sees a structural problem when you do demo that needs to be repaired, don't cover it up, because some contractors do that. They see something and they make a judgment call and they say, oh, that's bad, but it's not that bad. I'm just going to cover it up. Yeah. I've seen that. I've pulled up a demo where I've seen that it had been remodeled before, and I saw something that should have been repaired before and wasn't. It was just covered up. So don't do that. And B, if it feels like it's out of your comfort zone, bring someone else in at that point.
Right. Yeah.
Don't mess up your reputation by trying to handle something that becomes a callback and eventually a thorn in your side, where you keep going back because you did something you couldn't handle.